everybody. This is Dr. Kelly Tanner. We are at the Rocky Mountain Dental Convention. I have with me Chris Snyder, one of the folks I've known for a while. How many years have we known each other, Chris?
Three, two,
Yeah.
2.5, three, maybe more.
2, 3?
What year is it?
I don't know. 2025 now.
Yeah, so let's call that 3 to be
Yeah.
safe.
So,
Yeah.
Chris, question we always start out with: why dentistry? How did you get here?
Well, I kind of fell into it, probably like a lot of folks, but mine was a little strange. I got a phone call from a guy named Rolando Mia. Shout out to Ro.
Hey, Ro.
And it was about coming to work with a company called Xyrus that was building community and looking at connecting with people in dentistry. I didn't know anything about dentistry. I hadn't, I was like, oh, I haven't had a cleaning in a while, and I haven't seen a dentist. So I didn't really know anything about it. I thought he had the wrong guy. But as I started talking to Ro, it became kind of apparent that there is some real need in dentistry for folks that have backgrounds like mine. My background was in tech and business. And with the way things were kind of evolving in dentistry, as I talked to Ro and as we started to understand what they were looking to do and what was happening in dentistry, like, okay, this kind of makes some sense. And I was intrigued by the notion of, the clinicians go through school. You learn to be perfect clinicians, do perfect work, but there's really no training in business and management, leadership, people, financial. And I was like, well, how are they running these great businesses and really taking care of patients without these skills?
Yeah.
How's that a thing? That seemed wild to me. And so that was the intriguing part. That was the hook that got me into it. So I said yes, I signed up. And as you know, once you start dentistry, once you're in industry,
You can't go.
you can't leave.
You're in.
You're never leaving. So I'm here. What keeps me here are the people, really. I mean, teeth are great, mouths are great, but the people we meet in dentistry collectively is just a higher quality of person than I think you find in a lot of other industries.
It's the relationships. It's all about the relationships.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
And helping people. What just lights me up and getting to talk to all the folks at the different conventions and even on podcasts is what makes you tick? What are you passionate about? How can I help you get to where you need to be in this lifetime? Because you were here to do that. And some people, they get, we're perfectionists in dentistry. So we get kind of in our head about what it is that we're doing. If it's going to be successful, it's going to be perfect. And kind of none of that matters to a point. I mean, it does. Like, you want to have integrity, right? But,
right. There's a way of going about things. For me, the common denominator, the North Star, the thread that runs through it all, whatever you want to say, it's the people and the relationships. And I think that really is the thing that powers dentistry. The skills are great. The technology is great. The tools are great. But really the people that we work with is what really kind of makes me tick. It's the thing that when I come to a show, and I walked in here today, it was like, this feels like a family reunion. This feels like I'm going to see friends.
Yeah.
You see friendly faces. You see people that, you don't know so well, but you kind of touch and you're building those relationships. There's chances to meet and build new relationships with people you've never met. That's the thing that really kind of excites me about it. And in dentistry, especially, as I'm sure you've seen, we keep these relationships alive. They're not one and done. You don't meet at a show and be like, okay, well, that was good. You see each other again at the next show and you talk on a podcast and you're in the same meeting or in the same dinner or the same something else, and you just keep bumping into people, and then you get introduced to their friends, and now your network keeps expanding. And that really, really, drives me. It's a thing that when I think about what I want to do or what we would like to do in dentistry, it always ties back to how do we connect these dots? How do we connect these great people so that they can exceed their own expectations, exceed their own goals?
And what I love too about it is when you're out at the conventions, when you're in places with other folks, it's catching up, like, what's new? And that's always the first question that Chris and I and like all of our friends ask: what's new? What's shaking? What do you got going on? Because here's the reality, you guys, is that your business idea, your business now, what's in your head, what's in your heart, it can evolve over time. It's not going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be.
It should evolve.
It should evolve. And there's no... People will say, I'm getting stuck because I don't know it fully, but go with where you know that it is, right, Chris? Right. And you help people with this too.
Yeah. I mean, my own journey was like that. I did electromechanical engineering in the military. I got out, hated it. I did it for about a year, miserable. Worst thing I've ever done. I was absolutely miserable. And I thought, well, this is who I am. This is what I learned to do, right? This is my skill set. And then you start being introduced, like, what else could I do? What are some lateral things? If you're a hygienist or you're a dentist, you're also working with people. You're also leading. You're also managing. You're also in business. Like, there's other things, sales. There's other things we can do to kind of either evolve or grow or just have a 90-degree turn if that's what it takes. Especially when we think about the long play,
Yeah,
and you're 30 years old or 40 years old, and you're thinking, what's going to be the next chapter? And it may not be the same chapter you're in now. It may be a variation of what it is. Maybe it's a podcast or a book, or you start a little side hustle or you launch a product. I think everybody has some of those ambitions,
yeah,
especially in dentistry. It's something that when you go to like a CES show, a tech show, that's what they do. Like, I do this product. This is my baby. This is it. In dentistry, everybody's got a side hustle. Everybody has an idea for
yeah.
a new prophy angle or a
Yeah,
new product or a new tech or something. That's exciting, and
it
that's something
is.
that we want to help nourish in the dental community.
And even on LinkedIn and outside of these meetings, people will say, "Hey, are you
Mhm.
still are you still doing this?
Right.
Because this, and I had this in mind because of you, or whatever. Maybe some people that you know." And so you were always connecting each other, and so that's why it's so critical, you guys, to come to the shows. And if you're not in an area that has like larger shows,
Mhm.
to go to your local component meetings or study clubs or whatever that means for you, so you can you just feed off of each other
Yeah,
is what I feel like.
I agree. And there is something special about the shows that are different than a study club or your local organized dentistry, because you're exposed to folks from all over the country or all over the region
True.
who are not only bringing new product, but new technology, new ideas, new thoughts. They have their own kind of things they're building out there. And this is where all that kind of happens. I would venture to say that even shows, sometimes that's really the important part of the show, is the connecting with the folks and saying, tell me about this thing you have going on. I'm really curious about how you're doing X, Y, and
Yeah,
Z. And we learn from each other. We adapt and we grow. We take a little bit of that back, and we share that knowledge with our little teams. And, you know, we all get better. It's rising tides raises all ships,
yep.
right?
And something I thought of a few minutes before we started podcasting is we were talking about the platform that I use to record on. And one of my first,
Mhm.
I know you don't know this, what I'm getting ready to tell you, but one of the first interactions that I had to learn all the differences and the nuances of how to contrast and compare the different platforms is from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Really?
that's yeah, it I was like, "Okay," I liked what you guys were using. I think at the time it was Riverside, and I was doing some stuff for one of the companies that you were supporting before, and it's all the little nuances, like, "This is really cool." So I learned by being the end user and being
Mhm.
invited onto certain things of what I liked, what the experience
Right.
was like, and that's where I got to ask different questions of what do I want the end user to be like for my guests, and so it all evolves and grows. So even these one, um one little hits, I guess, of information that you can take and you can just say, how do
Yeah.
I make that better? How do I make that better?
You just asked a great question. What do I need? What do I want? What is my use case? What is my need? That's really the starting point.
Mhm.
Whether it's your dental career, right? What kind of career do I need to have? What kind of money do I need to make? What kind of dentistry do I want to practice? Or what kind of tech do I want to build? Am I really passionate about teledentistry, or do I really want to do something more service oriented? I think it's really got to start with that question: what's right for us?
Yeah,
What are we passionate about? Because that will drive us for many, many years if we're passionate.
I love that so much because it's that it drives the momentum
Right. Right.
of James Clear. I'm a big James Clear fan. Have you read that book,
Yes. Yes.
The
Yes.
Atomic
Yes.
Habits?
Yep.
And if you don't need you don't need motivation basically for what is on
That's right.
your heart.
That's right.
And if it's something that's outside of your heart, I mean, it's okay to say no to that because saying no to that means yes to something
The
else.
risk is doing something you're not passionate about. You're not likely to commit to it in the same way or sustain it in the same way as something that you really, truly love doing and enjoy doing.
Yep.
I mean, you could follow the money, and this is the thing that logically makes the most sense. But to what end? I mean, maybe you make a little more money, but you're not happy. You're not really into it. And when you talk about it, you're not going to have that same smile and glow about you
Yeah.
that you would with something that you really believe in and you really, really are passionate about.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't know. It's the lightning in the bottle for me. I
Mhm.
know that when my feet hit the ground every day, that I get to that the world is my playground. That I
Yeah.
get to do
Yeah.
that, and it's what do I want to focus on today? Who am I going to serve through what I love, love, love to do? And so, like, when I woke up this morning, I was like, I get to podcast all day with folks who are in the hall, who are, whether they're on my schedule or not. I mean, like with Chris, it was like, Chris, I knew that we were going to link up. I'm like, you want a podcast?
Right.
I mean, because I love Chris and what he's about.
Well, I have another wrinkle to that. So when I get up in the morning, it's about the people, but the lens I try to look through is always, I'm going to work with Kelly today. How can I help Kelly?
Mhm.
What can I do today that will help her not just meet your goal, but really exceed your expectation, exceed your goal? Because truthfully, we kind of set low bars for ourselves,
Mhm.
right? We generally set a bar that we can probably achieve. We don't really build those stretch goals for ourselves. So it's, how can we exceed our goal of that person? How can I really help them with something that maybe they didn't think they could do, or didn't think they could achieve, or that was possible? And that's the lens I always try to look through with relationships and people. And if I can succeed in that 20% of the time, 10% of the time, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yes, it's wow. Yeah, because I mean, I'm kind of cut it short based on what I do, but it's my helping for me, it's helping other people helps me because
Right. Right.
it serves my greater purpose. And so I'm asking that too. Like I'll usually meditate in the morning and someone will come to mind and I send them a like a little love message of, hey, thinking of you today, have a great day, or send them a card. I'm like, I gotta send them a note. It's what can I do that just keeps that ripple going?
We just talked about asking yourself the why, right? Why do I want to do this? Should I do this? What do I need? What's the right choice for me? But before that, it's really, what is your greater purpose?
Mm,
What are you all about? What do you want? When your time is up, what do you want to be remembered as, remembered for? If you can start with that and then build down into, great, this is my greater purpose. What things will ladder up into that
yeah.
that I'm passionate about?
Yep.
Um, you have a winning life. That's a successful life. I mean,
That is a winning.
regardless of money or fame or how much hair you have on your head, it's just like you're gonna feel good about the life you live, and that's really all we can ask for.
That's right. Feel like you're leading into a greater purpose.
Yeah, and even if you fail, you're still, there's nobility and still striving for that greater purpose.
100%. So your day to day,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when you are leaning into your purpose, what are you helping people do?
It varies from day to day, and that's one of the things I really, really enjoy. Is every day there's someone different I'm working with who's trying to achieve a different type of goal, not just a different goal, but really, someone might be launching a business, someone might be trying to formulate a brand identity, someone else might be trying to start a podcast just as a way to share some of their beliefs, thoughts, or philosophies. And others will just sit down and say, I need to make $1,000 a month extra. How can I do that? Can we help brainstorm some of these things? Um, and so I get to have these great conversations with people, peeling back all the layers of the why. Why do you want to make $1,000 a month? What do you not so much what do you need it for, but you need it long term? Is this like so you can have a better life? Is it a quality of life issue? You need to pay for the rent, and really can understand the why behind everything. And you have great conversations. You meet great people, and then you're able to really come from a place that feels like it's, I call it feature fit. It's really like being tailored for them. I don't sell me the brand 101 packaging. Don't sell me the digital marketing bucket list. Give me what I need. Let's build the thing that you need that's going to help you get to where you need to get to or beyond where you need to get to.
Yeah.
And so that's the journey I really enjoy. With the day to day, I'm a big list guy. So I always have a list. That list starts out, and this is kind of probably the most inefficient thing ever. I still think in ink. I very much believe that the shortest pencil is still longer than the longest memory, right? So I will write things down, and then I'll transfer them into Asana or project management
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I take the time in the morning with my coffee, when the house is still quiet, and I'll kind of map out the month, the week, and the day. Right? I take things off the month list, I put them on the week list, take them to the week list, I put them on the day list.
Okay.
I'm kind of neurotic that way.
Yeah.
But so I always have some of these, larger goals and smaller goals mixed in. Um, but by the end of that 30 minutes or so, I have a pretty clear sense of what's my day going to look like, right? Apart from meetings and things, what am I going to be working on throughout that day? And then I'm able to take a holistic look at it and say, well, I don't want to go from podcast to content creation to, data to,
Yeah.
and like bounce around too much. That context shift, that's hard.
Yeah. And the brain.
But we
It
lose
hurts
time.
your
There's a
brain.
ramp up and a ramp down time. And that's an opportunity cost. We lose time in there. So I try to kind of pair things together in a flow that makes sense, at least for me in my crazy brain. So it feels like more of a trajectory
Hmm.
rather than bouncing around like a ping pong ball everywhere.
Yeah, and you're being intentional
That's right.
about your
That's
day
right.
and your goals that you want to work
And then I
towards.
block off time in the calendar. That's the next step. So I clearly will, I'm going to do an hour for this, 30 minutes for this. I block off time. I'm going to be on the treadmill for this time, or I'm going to, go walk the dog or whatever that's going to look like for me. And then within that time, when I'm working on that project, I'm working on that project. I do not, I try to avoid, you know, dipping into that time and taking phone calls or chipping away at something else on the side.
Yeah.
One, because I lose focus, but two, I'm doing work for someone, if I'm helping someone with something, I feel that I owe them my full focus.
Yeah.
They deserve my full attention and my full ability, not to be compromised by, whatever it is else I'm doing.
Competing priorities.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Um, and the nice part about that is that tomorrow looks different from today, and um, it's something that you wake up in the morning excited because it's not wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah. The variety.
The variety, but it's also the variety that I set. You have some
Yeah.
control in that.
Yeah.
If I'm not feeling that good, I'm feeling a little bit off, I can change the flow of the day, the load of the day, as long as the outcomes are still happening.
So you feel like I feel like when we're in control, if you will, I mean,
Mhm.
never really in control of anything
No,
in life, but you feel like you're able to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's you have control over it, but you're able to optimize who you are and what it is that you want to put your heart towards, your energy towards.
right.
Because I don't know about you, sometimes you go from like a high functioning,
Mhm.
really cool creative space, and
Right.
you have a phone call, and that phone call may be like a little bit of a like a little bit of a downer
Yeah,
or something, and it affects your energy for the rest of the day. So having the ability to move things around, move slots, really does help you
it does.
be who you want to be to your company, to your customer.
But there's a caveat to that. When you are working with someone, for someone, in partnership with someone, there is you're on the hook, right? There's an outcome that's expected and a timeline and a deadline. And people's careers, their businesses, their revenue, their family income are
Mhm.
sometimes based on the work I do.
That's true.
And so if I decide I'm just not feeling it today, I'm going to push that off until tomorrow or I'll do it on Monday. You run the risk of creating a situation that could potentially risk someone's well-being or their livelihood or their comfort, if nothing else. And so it's balancing the self with the duty in there that I think anyone who's working freelance or as a consultant, they will feel some of that to that
Yeah.
point. How do
Oh
I
yeah.
balance that, what I believe is right, with, you know, this is what really they need. And this is what I should probably lean into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prioritizing that. I love that you say that. There's a client that I have, and he said, we'll probably be pausing this because of cash flow
Yeah.
issues. Can you do this?
Mhm.
And I totally can feel that and sense that as the business owner. But what I loved about that he said that is he it felt vulnerable and real enough so he could communicate that, because sometimes I think that we feel like that we have to just keep going and
Right.
and not tell anybody else what's going on. But I love the transparency of the clients that I have,
Mhm.
and doing what I do, doing what you do. I get to pick and choose who I work with and who I'm representing. So this
That
is
that is a tremendous perk. Is really picking, choosing not only who you work with, but the type of work you do, and the length of time, and all those things. You know, I I never refer to what I do or the team or anyone as an agency or as a company. I try to think of it as a clients. For me, that is, I don't know. For me, it just doesn't feel right because they're all relationships.
yeah,
And I just feel like we're partners. We're in this together. My success is tied to yours, or it should be the right way. Um, if I don't do my thing, then you can't do your thing. And so we're in this together.
yeah,
And so I always like to frame that as it's Chris and Kelly. This is where, we're partners in this rather than it's a client and you hired an agency and there's a thing and a contract and the deal. And I don't know. For me, it just feels again about the people and about their goal and helping them, and keeping everything in that light is really important to me.
And I was thinking about this as you were talking, that this also applies, you guys, to everyday dentistry, because we show up to what we're doing as hygienists or your dentist or your assistant, your front office manager, whoever you are to the team.
Hmm.
And you are a client of the doctor's, the patient's a client of yours.
Right.
And so where is your heart in that? And did you set out that intention to be the best you could be, even as difficult as it can be some days with the treatment you're providing, the personality that sometimes you're feeling like you're coming up against instead of working alongside of. So to keep that at the center of, breathing, taking those little micro breaks to say, okay, this is somehow triggering something in me,
Right.
with those phone calls. And it
Right.
wasn't
Right.
exactly what you had planned for that day, but how are you choosing to show up for your client, for your patient, for your doctor, for your team, and everything you're working towards? Because you're a part of that doctor's dream
Hmm.
and what they're building,
Right.
and you're also a part of your patient's dream as well. I know that's weird to kind of think of it like that, but they're there
Yeah.
for you to tell them what's going on.
It goes back to that. Even if you're a clinician or
Yeah.
a consultant or whatever it may be, that greater purpose, right? And if we are practicing dentistry and you're in the op, you're doing a procedure, are we still thinking about that patient's oral health?
Mhm.
Are we still thinking about really why we're really doing this and what the reason we started was? Or have we gotten away from that? We're focused on the schedule or the procedure itself or, you know, what we're going to try and sell or the production or any of those other ugly things that get leaked into it sometimes and in the back of the mind. It's easy to kind of lose focus on why we started, why we began
Yeah.
things, and what that greater purpose is. I go through it. I'll first admit that there's days I just, you just don't feel like helping, right? You
Yeah.
just are like, I can barely get my own self together, let alone.
Yeah.
But that's the gig. That's what we sign up to do.
Yeah. And I feel like too, when I feel like that, regardless of whether it's with a client, if I'm not feeling my best or off, or I'm sure you guys don't have those days, but
Mm.
to say where are my boundaries for today, and
Right.
where am I going to set them? Where are my boundaries with this patient? Am I gonna, because I know I may not be 100%, I may not be on my A game, right?
Right. Right.
That's Realville.
Yeah.
That's
It
Realville.
is.
I'm gonna say that I may spend less time with some of the side talk and spend more time talking about the fracture on whatever,
Right. Right.
whatever it is that they need, and really focusing and letting them do the majority of the talking for that appointment. So I'm trying to figure out and navigate how I can be my best self and show up there 100%.
And that's where I use that time in the morning, the planning time.
Yeah.
It's how do I feel? How do I think I'll be best serving others today, given the schedule, what I have to accomplish, how I feel, the weather, the whatever, right, is going on. There's always stuff in life going on.
Yeah.
And then staying true to that throughout the day. But giving myself grace to, I'm not going to cancel your call, but, maybe I'll take that extra 15 minutes
Yeah.
before to kind of get myself together on just having those days. But at the end of the day, we all are kind of servant leaders. We're in that place where people are counting on us. It's looking at us. We owe them a bit of responsible to them, and we have to deliver on
Yeah.
that at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Chris, any final words for our audience? Any sage words of advice?
About sage words, I would, I think there is value in periodically taking time to not get all meta and self reflect and those kind of things, but really sitting down and thinking, am I doing the thing I really like to do? Am I really passionate about what I'm doing? And even more so, am I passionate about my North Star, my greater purpose? It's easy to get distracted and kind of shift off to the right or left a little bit. And sometimes we just need to nudge ourselves back to center and kind of realign under either what is that new purpose or get back into what our existing purpose is.
Yeah.
I try to kind of a quarterly thing, try and take some time and do that. I would really encourage everyone to take time and just look and say, I really love what I'm doing. And if not, what don't I like about it?
Yeah.
And does it really serve the reason that I started doing this in the first place?
Yeah. That's great sage advice.
Yeah, so it happens when you're 273 years old. I look good, but 273.
I thought you were at least 270.
No, 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 no. It's the hair. It fools you. It's the skincare regimen, that rubbing alcohol that does it. Try it all out.
And smile
Yeah, that's
line.
right.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today,
My
Chris.
pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
You guys, if you want to know more about Chris and what he does, you can link up with him in the show notes. All his information's down there. For you guys, thank you so much for all that you do every single day. And, I always ask the favor, go on over to Apple Podcasts to give me a 5-star rating. Well, the dental handoff. And then if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share with others who may enjoy the show. We will see you next time, my friends. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Ty. Bye, everyone.
Bye.